The Baltimore Ravens escaped Minneapolis victorious, but unfortunately they did not escape Minneapolis 100% fully healthy. And that's what we're talking about on today's show because head coach John Harbaugh gave us some injury updates on the three players that were most looked at under the microscope for what they had to deal with and how they left that game against the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, I'm talking about Marlon Humphrey, who left that game with a finger injury. Rashod Bateman left with an ankle injury. Higgins, undrafted free agent linebacker out of Iowa, left that game with a knee injury. We'll give you updates from John Harbaugh on each and every single one of them. Starting with arguably the most important on that list, let's talk about Marlon Humphrey. Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey, this is from ESPN's Jamison Hensley, could miss a week or two if he decides to have surgery on his injured finger, Coach John Harbaugh said, but Humphrey could continue to play if he chooses to not have surgery. So that's where he's at right now, said the head honcho. And honestly, I feel like this is a pretty positive update considering what it could have been. We know that Marlon Humphrey plays a position where, let's face it, you need to have your fingers. You need to have mobility. You need to be able to catch a football from time to time. He led the National Football League in interceptions for cornerbacks in 2024. You also play a position that's incredibly physical with your hands at the line of scrimmage. Anytime he's playing press man coverage, he's getting his hands on that wide receiver as quickly as possible. And if he's having finger issues, well, that's going to hamper that. You also have to tackle the guys you're going up against as well. And if you're dealing with a hand thing, that's going to hamper that as well. So we'll see whether he gets surgery or not. I'm sure that's going to be elected in the next couple of days or so. But regardless, the fact that if he does get surgery, he's only going to miss a week or two, I think is great, considering what the alternative could have been. For Marlon Humphrey, it's been an interesting season so far. There's been a lot of ups. That interception yesterday, on Sunday was one of them. There's been some downs as well. The missed sack and him getting absolutely abused on the first drive of that game against the Vikings was one of them as well. It feels like it hasn't been a game-to-game basis, more like a quarter-to-quarter basis for how Marlon Humphrey has played this season. But I will say this, your defense, your secondary is not better with him off the field. Has he played perfect football in 2025? No, nowhere even close. But your defense is better with him playing than him on the bench. You want the Ravens to be back fully healthy. If you do, hit that thumbs up button and like today's video. We got a little ahead of our skis last week, having perfect injury reports. That's not going to be the case this week. But if you want it to be, hit that thumbs up button. Up next, let's talk about Rashod Bateman. Harbaugh set the tackle that hurt Rashod Bateman. Rashod Bateman's ankle looked like a hip drop tackle. More on that in a second. But he senses Bateman will be okay, but he'll know more later in the week. He's got an ankle sprain. We'll see how serious it is going forward. Rashod Bateman said after Sunday's game that it was a high ankle sprain. Obviously, he's not a doctor. He doesn't know that 100%, but we'll find out more throughout the week. This was the tackle, and to me, that definitely looks like a hip drop. And it's frustrating because it was a big deal that this rule got got instated before last season, and they just haven't called it. And you see these every single week. This is a perfect example. That's an illegal tackle. Now, obviously, it's not going to put him much closer to the goal line than they already were because they called his knee down like at the 1 yard line anyway. But it's just frustrating to see an illegal play like that and the Minnesota Vikings just come off like nothing happened. For Rashod Bateman, his production has not been anywhere near you would have expected it to be or I expected it to be going into the 2025 season. Hell, this last offseason, you can look at pretty much any video I did that I talked about Rashod Bateman. I said he's got as big of an opportunity as anybody to step up and be a wide receiver one on this roster, and he hasn't done that. 16 catches in 9 games, 194 yards, 12.1 yards a catch, only 2 touchdowns. In my opinion, he's been a massive disappointment, not just because of the lack of production, but because of his effort out there on the field as well, because of his body language. Looks like he's just kind of given up on a route or two throughout the course of this year. I would love to get Devontae Walker back in the fold. Now, I do think it's going to impact this offense a little bit, not having a guy like Rashod Bateman out there. But I do believe getting Devontae Walker back on this field as quickly as you can, getting him as many reps as you can, I think is only going to benefit this offense moving forward. Because Devontae Walker, I think he's got all the tools, all the ability to be a star in this league. And in my opinion, it falls under the same vein as them not playing Keaton Mitchell early in this year, that I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Devontae Walker has not been getting as much playing time over the last couple of weeks and that he's been a scratch. I'm curious, do you think it was a hip drop tackle? Let me know in the comment section down below. Give me a yes or a no. Gage, you think it was hip drop? Gage thinks it was. You let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Before we get on to what's next, we got to give you an update on Jay Higgins, the undrafted linebacker out of Iowa. The rookie, John Harbaugh, confirmed that he suffered a knee injury and will miss at least a few weeks, but it's not season ending. And that's much better than originally anticipated. When we talked about this on Sunday night after the game, all we heard was from Jeff Zreback that he was wearing a significant knee brace, and it looked like a significant knee injury. And so it's good to hear that it's just going to be a couple weeks here or there, but he's not going to be back. He's not going to be out for the rest of the season. The special teams unit is going to take a hit. That was a unit that I thought looked unbelievable on Sunday against Minnesota, obviously forcing 2 fumbles, recovering one of them, which was the biggest turning point in that game on Sunday. Special teams unit's going to take a hit. The defense, not so much. He's a UDFA. He has not played that much this season, but special teams, they'll have to adjust. Something I need you guys to adjust is if you don't have the PrizePicks app, make sure you download it right now. Use our code CLNS. You get $50 in lineups. All you got to do is play a $5 lineup. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Lamar Jackson's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. If you want to check out my lineup for Thursday Night Football, here it is, right here. Jets, Patriots battle of the AFC East. Give me the more on Breece Hall, half a rushing touchdown. The more on Drake May, 20.5 pass completions. And this is one of my favorite PrizePicks things to go more or less on. 3.5 yards on the first rush. Really exciting. I'm going to go more for Travion Henderson. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Now, before we get on out of here, I got to give a big special shout-out to the rookie safety, first-round pick, number 27 overall, of course. I'm talking about old Georgia safety, Malachi Starks, for the Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh shares my exact same sentiment. He said in his press conference yesterday that it's starting to click for him. He's conscientious and wants to do things right. And he has just played unbelievable football over these past 2 weeks, and PFF has noticed it as well. In fact, he's the highest graded safety in the National Football League over the past 2 weeks, beating out Denver's Talanoa Hufanga and Buffalo's Cole Bishop in his last 2 games. He has an overall grade average of 91.1, a coverage grade average of 89.5. He's got 8 tackles, 2 interceptions. He's only allowed 2 receptions. His tackle grade is in the high 80 as well. And he's finally playing like that player that we all expected to be there week 1. But obviously, these guys are rookies. They're young. It's their first year in the National Football League. He's not even 23 years old yet. And Kyle Hamilton thought the exact same thing. He said, God forbid that a rookie takes more than 7 games in the NFL to get adjusted. He's progressing just fine. And it's no surprise to us. He's 21 years old. He acts like he's 31. So I was wrong. He's not even 22 years old yet. Look, having Malachi Starks playing at this level is going to be huge for this team moving forward. Okay? I think just as much as moving Kyle Hamilton down to the line of scrimmage with the addition of Alohi Gilman, I think that was a big change and big, reason this defense started playing a lot better. I also just think the fact that Malachi Starks has started getting used to life in playing in the National Football League, I think that's a big testament to why this defense has kind of turned things on their heels over the last 5 weeks or so. Before we leave, other NFL news. Brian Daboll got fired yesterday by the New York Giants. How does that impact Baltimore, Joey? Well, I'll tell you how. Todd Monken, Zach Gore, your two Ravens offensive coordinators would not be surprised, or not offensive coordinators, two Ravens coordinators. Wouldn't be surprised if you heard a little bit on either of these guys for this opening. I'd be way more surprised about Zach Orr, given the fact that he's young, given the fact that he's a defensive mind, and also given the fact the Baltimore Ravens started the season off horribly. I would be shocked to see him getting some love for this job. They got a young quarterback. I'm sure they want to pair him with an offensive guy. But we know in the offseason, he was talked about as a possible future coaching candidate. Todd Monken, he's the guy I think we really need to be looking at as a possibility. Look, he's gone on job interviews over the past 2 seasons. We know that other NFL openings have been looking at him over the past couple of off seasons. And we also know he's an offensive mind. He's been in the collegiate game. Jackson Dart, a guy who's fresh out of the collegiate game. And we know that Todd Monken has been a guy who's been in the running over the past couple of years. So, Todd Monken, Zach Orr, keep an eye out for both of those names, especially more with Todd Monken. We're going to get on out of here, but make sure before you do to subscribe, follow me on social media, and make sure to check back in later today because we'll have another video.